Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott. Miguel Porter is not here today, but we have Frank Ford joining us for, I don't know, the 50th appearance. I don't know. You've been on the show quite a bit of times.
The first time since Miguel's been a co-host. I'm sorry I missed him.
Okay, yeah. We gotta get the whole crew on here. Like, I like when we get like four or five of you guys on here and we just all talk about stuff. Maybe we'll do a classic barbell Jeopardy one of these days in the future. We haven't done one of those in
All
a
right.
long time,
Yeah, it's been a little
and
bit.
we could do it live and now where everybody's on the screen at the same time instead of the awkward Zoom, delays.
Yeah, this format's a little bit better.
It is. It's so much easier too being able to like see each other while we talk. It feels more like a real conversation instead
Yeah,
of again like the Zoom where only the speaker is on frame and you don't know what the other person's even doing.
right. Yeah, no, this is good.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. It actually brings me back to remember when I first started the podcast and we tried to go live on Spreaker and figure it out
Oh,
and
yeah,
it
that
just
was weird.
yeah, like this is so much smoother. Just it's literally just a link we log onto it and it ports everything out to YouTube and everywhere. On Spreaker, when we were trying to go live with just like a chat board and audio, it needed all kinds of production and wires and stuff like that. Just didn't work out. Plus, I had no idea
Yeah,
what I was doing. So, and
glad you figured it out.
I didn't want to read the tutorials. You ever do that where you're like, yeah, I don't want to read that, so I guess we're not going to do this. You ever do that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a
Yeah.
dad now, so instructions are out the window.
Exactly. You've got
Yeah,
them pre-built in.
that's it.
It came with the baby. As soon as,
That's
as soon as
it.
the babies came, you're like, "Oh, I no longer need instructions. I will
Yeah,
just begin."
yeah.
And
Although if the babies came with instructions, I probably would have read those.
oh yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
a new challenge. How have you been adapting to this challenge now that you have two young little girls
Yeah,
in the house?
yeah, 2 little ladies. Adapting hasn't been hard. I've firmly been put in my place. I am at the bottom of the totem pole, and
Mhm.
they are in charge. So
Yeah.
once you come to terms with that, I'm just a waiter. I'm a butler.
Well,
Just
hey, you're
get me
the
this, get me that. So
another way to maybe say it would be you're the foundation, right? Like
sure,
bottom of the totem pole's got to keep all the other, everything else
yeah,
above that doesn't stay up there on its level if you don't have a base. So being the bottom of the pyramid isn't always a bad thing.
yeah. Well, if that's the case, then my wife is probably the bottom, keeping it all
Okay,
together, and I'm somewhere in the middle,
there you
but
go. Maybe
definitely
maybe
below the girls. Yeah.
maybe your wife is like the foundation and also the walls that come up to encompass
Yeah,
all of it, and
yeah,
then you're in there somewhere.
yeah. I saw a clip and it was the best analogy for being a dad ever is that you're like the backup quarterback for a team, for a football
Uh,
team.
yeah,
It's very true. Like you're not really there making decisions. You're on the team. If the starter's not there, you're kind of in charge. But outside of that, you're just like
yeah,
I'm here. So
yeah. Yeah, you're picking up stuff. You're making sure people get from A to
yeah,
B.
I'm holding the clipboard. I'm
Yeah,
yes, she's right.
yeah.
But
You're in the middle of your workout and you get a list of things that need like we need balloons, we need this. Like you got to go get it
all the
right
time.
after. So
Yeah, all the
yeah.
time.
Well, I mean it must trickle into your coaching a little bit. Is have you noticed that? Like, do you coach differently now that you're a dad, or do you project manage or tackle situations with this new experience?
Um, I don't know that it's changed a whole lot. Maybe I'm a little softer, but my uh my athletes probably still think I've kept most of my tough streak, so they uh
Okay.
they let me know. But yeah, no, I think it's stayed pretty consistent.
Okay, that's
So
good. And you still have your strength, so that hasn't gone away. Life has taken you away from the barbell here and there because you have these other responsibilities. But once you had, both of your kids, even the Maribel, you instantly got that dad strength credit, to your name. Does it
yeah,
increase
yeah.
with every child more dad strength?
No, no, I don't think so. I think that's a one and done. But it's kept me from falling off too far from where I was. So
Mhm.
I haven't had too big of a setback, but we're getting back into training now, and the weights are still kind of up there, close. We're within 10 or so kilos of what we were, so
Yeah.
we're doing all right.
That's not bad at all. No.
No.
It's good to know that even with everything going on, with how busy you are, can't get in the gym as frequently as you want to, because you were going almost every day at one point, like you were training like
Yeah.
a professional athlete here. You can still snatch 100 and up to 110. You can still clean jerk 150 plus. That's nice to know that just walking around, maybe a day or a training session or two to shake off a little bit of rust, you still got that. That's how does that feel? Like most people get nervous they're going to lose all of it.
Yeah, it's good. I think, I think we did like 15 and 50 or 55. I can't remember what it was at the seminar, but we did some decent numbers, and it's still there. It's not as easy as it was. It's a little rust, but I think it helps because I'm still coaching a fair amount, a lot, and
Yeah.
programming and stuff, so I'm around it, and I'm grading and judging technique on a daily basis. So you know, at least like mentally, I'm not rusty. I'm still around the sport. It's not like I took a big break from being around it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I definitely don't have experience with and don't know how it would feel to not only not train, but to be away from it wholesale. It's not even a part of your life anymore, and then to come back, that would be weird.
Yeah, I feel like that would really set me back a bit. But I'm talking technique and the lifts every day. With my lifters and stuff. So I'm around it
Demoing,
and yeah, demoing, moving like and I've been getting in intermittently, here and there a few times a month, lifting a little bit. So I'm still been doing what I can. Um, so it hasn't completely gone away. I don't feel like I like lost my feel for the bar, but it's just training and building up that volume and I haven't had to fight through that like God, I'm so sore today and get in the gym and just work through like I haven't had to do that hard part of training in a little bit.
yeah,
So we'll see soon. We're gearing up for a meet in December. So
yep. The Howard Cohen and America, was it the Masters
America,
America's Cup,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, the
the
America's
America's
Cup, I
Cup,
think.
and I think this
Yeah,
is the first America's Cup. I could be wrong. I don't know. I've never really heard of that
yeah,
one before, outside the
yeah,
Masters Worlds and Pan Ams.
yeah. I know they've paired up some of their national meets with international stuff before, but I don't know that they've called it this. So,
Yeah.
but it'll
This
be
is
my first like Masters meet. So
yeah. This is with the USA Masters Weightlifting Federation. So this is not USAW thing. This is a different thing. That's a whole nother podcast to talk about
hmm
all of what goes on into that. But this is a predominantly Masters Federation, which is cool. And they have, meets throughout the year that gear towards the international competition side of things, Masters Worlds, Pan Ams. So historically, if you've known about those, this is the committee and the organization that runs that. And they also have the Howard Cohen because the Cohens are some of the founders of the organization, and they've been involved in masters weightlifting for decades upon decades. I don't even want. It's definitely more than 30, I think, since what the
yeah,
70s probably.
yeah,
So that's quite a bit of time. And this event is to honor Howard Cohen Sr., who recently passed away within the last year, I think. And it's always been called the Howard Cohen, or actually, no, excuse me. It used to be the USA Masters American Open or American Championships, and
mhm,
then there was like a big confusion around 2015 to 17 on American Open Finals, American Open Series, American Masters Open. Like it was all American, and then they rebranded it as the Howard Cohen, which makes sense, if you're gonna
yeah,
honor one person. And this is when he was still alive. So that's what we're doing, and this is super fun. It's yeah, like first time doing a masters meet, and this is also you are going to be the third person on the team to do one of these meets officially. So Kim, Tracy, and now you. So
yeah.
yeah,
I'm excited. It's a new venture, a new we've done a lot of local meets. We've done some of the AO series stuff and that kind of thing. So it'll be cool to see something different, go lift with a different federation, see how they do things, and
Yeah.
hopefully bring home some hardware. It'd be cool.
And lift in people in your direct and immediate peer group. So now
Hmm.
it's not like, you're the masters athlete at an open meet and
Hmm.
there's guys that aren't your age. Like, no, this is everybody in the 35 to 39 age group in the 96 kilo weight class or wherever we decide to be. And that I don't know, I think it adds another cooler level to the competition. I'm like, oh, these are my guys. These are
Yeah,
my direct
yeah,
competitors.
yeah. It'll be hopefully be competitive and fun, and it'll be my first international meet too. So that'll be a fun wrinkle to throw into it. So
Yeah. I wonder, do they have a lot of people coming in from Canada and stuff to do it?
I haven't dug into the start list. I noticed a few from Canada and some other places. So
Mhm.
'cause they
Yeah,
have,
probably
if
gonna
you
be a
go
lot of
on their website, they have the entry list for the Howard Cohen, and then they have below that the America's Cup and entry list so far. So
okay, gotta check that out.
it's
Be
predominantly
kinda cool.
U.S., but there's a few sprinkled in.
Yeah. Well, that's cool too. I don't know if we've done a meet where you've competed against someone from another country. Like, well, how does that make you feel? Like, does it pump you up more to go out there and, like, make lifts for USA?
Oh, I don't care who it is. I'm going to win, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
care
I
where
know,
they're
but I don't
from.
know if it just it amps you up a little bit, like, whether
Uh,
it's local or not. You're like, maybe it won't feel different until eventually you're wearing a Team USA singlet, and this is like Worlds or something like that. Maybe that'll mean a little more.
yeah, probably. I think for this one, it's just like it's been a while. I haven't lifted at a meet since year regional. So
Yeah,
where, it's been a minute, and I'm just happy to get back out on the platform.
yeah, yeah, and we will win. I mean, it's non-negotiable. We're coming back. We're gonna go
We
out there,
must.
put some big
Yeah.
lifts up. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do whatever we need to do. So that's gonna be a fun trip. It's in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, which we went there. That was your first national level event, right? AO Series Two.
Yeah, we did an AO series 2 or 3 or something there. Yeah. Back in like
Nice.
2018, I think. 18 or
Yeah.
19. I think it was 18. So,
So big casino.
yeah.
We'll win big multiple ways. And there's also the I can't remember what it was called. It was like founding fathers or something lunch brunch buffet thing, and they had amazing food. So we got to
Oh,
hit that up again
I
too.
didn't even hit that. All I remember was the steakhouse we went to afterwards. That place was
Okay,
pretty
yeah,
solid. Yeah.
yeah, they have good food in Valley Forge. Really,
Hmm.
really good food. It was a brunch buffet where they had like a little bit of everything. You're like, "What? There's fried chicken here. There's donuts here. There's popcorn." Like they had like it was insane. Like it was like the
Hmm.
works for just this brunch buffet, and it was good quality too. So it wasn't like I don't know,
Yeah.
just like bulk food that they're pouring out of a bag. Like those are real eggs. So
Yeah. I'll have to try it out.
after you make weight, yep, we'll
Yeah. Yeah.
fuel up.
So,
And you
yeah,
got
I'm
some
just
people
waiting to
from the
see.
team going.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've got a couple lifters going too. Jeff and Kim are going down to lift, so I gotta hopefully after Halloween, once the primary entry period's over, we can get some idea of when these guys will be lifting. It's hard to book
Yep.
hotels and figure out travel when we don't really know when everybody's gonna be lifting.
Yeah, that's true. You can kind of just like eyeball it based on their age group and weight class on the
Hmm.
previous year, but then that's not always reliable because there could be less
Right.
people, and next thing you know, you're going 3 days earlier than you thought. So it's always tricky like
Hmm.
that. I don't know if
Yep.
there's any way to ever fix that, really. In terms of athletes
No.
trying to book their trips and planning the
Yeah,
competition.
it's all gonna come down to how many people sign up and, people changing weight classes or age groups year over year and things shifting and who knows.
Yeah. It is good the way that this organization's doing it, where the registration ends on October 31st. The
Mhm.
meet isn't until the first weekend of December. Was that the 6th, 7th, and 8th? Plus, they might go earlier into the week.
Yeah.
So they're at least a month out. Like that's good. That's decent. Like if we were finding out 2 weeks before the event, here's the start list, all that stuff. That's where it gets a little dicier.
Yeah, yeah. If they can give us some sort of preliminary idea of when, even just the day, like the time of day doesn't matter if it moves, like whatever, we'll figure it out. But at least if I
Yeah.
know if I've got lifters going on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, then I know what days I need to hotel. So
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's gonna be exciting. We'll have to do another show talking about maybe just before or after it, how everything went. A little
yeah, definitely.
reporting of the news. Now you're getting back into training, and you just held the Donnie Schenkel John North seminar at your gym at the beginning of
Mhm.
September. And we've been adding in a few things that you were practicing at that seminar. Overall, what are your thoughts on how that weekend went, and how are things going with some of the changes that we're making with your technique?
I think the seminar was awesome. It was big. I think my lifters really enjoyed it, and some of the other lifters that came in from out of town. Um, I think everybody really, you know, Donnie and John got along well with everybody, and I think they connected pretty well with the group. Everybody was pretty focused and locked in when they were doing their kind of their just general, just talking to the group on the side. And then when it got time to lift, everybody was all fired up and what you would typically expect from a seminar atmosphere. So I think it went according to plan, pretty much what I expected. And the feedback I got afterwards was great. Everybody was really excited to have those real big, figures of the sport in the gym and get to work with them and take pictures and get books and do all kind of just fangirl a little bit, because they're
Yeah.
pretty big names. So yeah, I think it went well. I think everybody kind of picked up a thing or two to kind of use going forward, and including myself. So we've been working primarily with like a little tweak to the start position for both lifts, and it's been an adjustment, but I think it's helping with a couple of problems that we were having prior to this. So the bar kind of getting away from me a little bit right off the floor. Um, my old setup, my hips were a little bit higher. Now we're sitting pretty deep with our shoulders almost like we're pretty much right in line with the bar. We're almost behind it, and we're just like really anchoring our weight against the counterbalancing ourselves against the bar, and trying to just drive through the floor and just kind of more so stand up with it.
And keep your back tight.
Yeah, and just keeping the back tight and just kind of moving a little more vertically and getting rid of some of that like lateral movement I was getting in the pull, and I think it's been helping. The bar's been staying a bit closer. We're ironing out some of the kinks and stuff with where I'm putting pressure, with like my knees and things like that. But I think my back positions have been looking better. So
Yeah, it's looking very, very strong. And it's from the lighter weights up to the heavier weights that we've been dealing with. It's looking consistent. And that's what you want. You want it to be the
yeah.
same technique all the way through. And we just recently made a tiny tweak of, you know, you were doing more of what, how John teaches, pushing the knees back very,
Mhm.
very far and leaning out over the bar with this new setup, which is kind of like John's horses out of the gate, very low butt, sitting on your calves, set up, pull your body back, and then pull the bar. It's great for keeping it close to your body and making sure your back is braced and give you a better chance of holding it throughout the lift. But the thing that was a little, I think, kind of jarring was we used to really focus on for years on you pushing your knees out to the side instead of pushing them back. So we just kind of
Right.
revisited that. It's like, well, what if we do both? Like get in that tighter start position, but instead of pushing back, get your knees out the way that you've classically been strongest doing. And it seems to be working out. Like you look way more, the word we were using the other day was connected. Like you connected throughout the
Yeah.
entirety of the pull. And that's what I was thinking, seeing it. And then you said it later that that's how you felt. So I think that
Mhm.
means we're on the right track here.
Yeah, no, I think so. I'm not like kind of some of the lifts I would get kind of in no man's land as I was kind of trying to bring the bar into my hips. I have some deficiencies in like my back strength compared to say like my quads and stuff, and trying to use like my lats and my back to move that kind of weight back into me um,
Mhm.
was more difficult for me personally. Um, so keeping it a little bit closer to my thigh and not trying to make hip bar contact and just letting it kind of just happen on its own because the bar's already there. I'm not really searching for it. It's all kind of like you said, it's just more connected, and it's eventually as we
You,
get the more reps in, it should move a little quicker.
yeah,
So,
and it's if it's all connected, you just have to stand up, and the bar
mhm,
goes where it needs to go. You just have to move.
right.
I think I was talking in the last episode to Miguel about this, or maybe it was in our FaceTime training session. If you're set up correctly and you just stand up, the bar arrives right at your hips and it makes
Right.
contact. So if when you go to do the lift, if you do any extra movement outside of that and you don't make contact with your hips, that means that you were working against the bar and against the movement instead of just standing up and letting the bar move with you and come into you. You have to actually try to not make contact if you do extra stuff. You start
Right.
pulling early with your arms, or you push it away, or your back isn't tight so you deflate and the bar moves away. Like there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things you can do that aren't, I guess, I guess it's hard for people to think about, like, because people probably already think about snatch and clean jerk as like they're not normal movements, right? So
Hmm.
it's like, so now you're not doing normal movements in a not normal movement, but it really is. If you just set up on it and stand up the way you would any squat or deadlift, the bar will do exactly what it needs to do, unless you work against it and do something odd, you know
Right.
which could be, shift to your toes too much. Or maybe you're shifted too far back 100% on your heels. That's not normal either. No one's standing up like that. Think about if you go to pick up, actually, if you watch either your kids, they see there's something on the floor, they squat down, they grab it, and they stand right up. Are
Yep.
they 100% on their toes or 100% on their heels, or are they just probably perfectly balanced in a normal foot
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. They're also hypermobile, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Life hasn't
Yeah,
destroyed
they
things
don't
yet.
have kneecaps yet, but your point is exactly right. Like, yeah, they
Yeah,
they stay perfectly balanced. They just squat down, grab it, and stand up. So,
yeah. They have beautiful balance, and they're also not thinking about it either. They're
mhm,
not. All right, I gotta sit back into my heels, and next thing you know, their toes are drifting up off the floor, and they have all this space.
mhm,
Versus when we're working with adults in the gym, we're like, all right, get your weight on your heels, and they just start doing all this stuff. And we're saying get your weight on your heels because we don't want them to go the other way. So we're trying to get them to go this way. They're trying to go that way, and maybe we're all overthinking it a little bit too much. Just
yeah,
squat down, stand up.
most likely.
Yeah, it happens very, very easily. That's what we do as adults. We just nothing but
Yeah,
thinking. You have to make
analyze.
yourself more like a child. Don't overthink it.
Yep,
Just do it. Just have do it and have fun with it. It'll be okay. So
yep.
I think this will be I think it's a good change. I think it's a good change for two things. One, we talked about this before. We had tried to do this in the past, this type of a setup, and for whatever reason, way back, it didn't click. It wasn't what we needed in that time. Maybe
Mhm,
you were young enough of an athlete that this is too advanced of a start to be starting here. Just got to figure out how to put you in a position that you can replicate and then get it strong and do that.
mhm.
That could have been one reason why. I don't even remember. Maybe you do. Um, but now we're back to it. And it could be that we're back to it now. And it's like, you just need something fresh, right? Like sometimes you've been doing it for so long, like, yeah, let me just tinker with my start position and do something new and different to even if it makes the lifting better, awesome. That's one reason. Maybe another reason too is like, yeah, now it's new again. It's different. It's a new fresh coat of paint on this car versus an old one. And I'm like, all right, back to the old start position, and it's not exciting anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably more of the first one, but probably a little bit of the second one. It gives my coach's brain something to think about while I'm lifting of like, trying to figure this out too. So it keeps me mentally engaged, whereas, it's not as monotonous because I'm actively trying to perfect. Not that I wasn't with the other lifting, but we've been doing that for years. Now it's like this new thing that I'm not as comfortable with, and it's a challenge.
Yeah. And you don't, not that you were with the other one, but maybe, you start not focusing on the little things because you just do it over and over again. And then little errors, like maybe you go to get in your regular start position and you don't really brace your core because you're just so comfortable with it. And the vast majority of lifts you can get away with it.
Hmm.
Not a big deal. So you don't even think about it. And that's not something that I can always see on the outside looking in. It's not something you're thinking about. And now all of a sudden, that's what we're training all the time because you just get used to it. Just like if you're coaching athletes, after a while, you do start to get used to their movement. And both of you might start to like not see subtle flaws that all of a sudden become invisible. They all of a sudden just become, well, that's just Frank's technique. No, that's just how Frank lifts. And you
Yeah.
believe that too. No, that's how I do it. That's what works for me. Look, I snatched 120 this way. That means it works, right? That means it's always going to be the thing. But now
Hmm.
that you're trying something new, like you said, you have to focus on it. You have to think about it. You have to, all of a sudden, those subtle errors are going to pop up here too. And there's a new spotlight on them because now you're like, it's not working. Why I can't get away with it anymore. Like, oh, I should brace my core. Just as an example. So I think it's a good thing for everybody to do. Like, especially, I mean, it would be best to do it in a an off season type of situation. So the vast majority of people on both of our teams, now's the time to tinker with things.
Hmm.
When we get back in season, maybe not so much. But for you, you're coming back into it, and it's kind of breathing in new life a little bit, and you're not exactly a beginner. So I think it's
Yeah.
safe. I think it's going to set us up for success in a few months on shaking off the rust in a different way.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely would be a scarier sort of task to take on with somebody who's brand new. But we've been around this before, and I don't get the competition jitters, and so I'm not like worried about all that.
Right.
It's we're gonna go compete and do what we got to do. So this is a good thing to focus on, and just trying to get a little bit more efficient so we can make more lifts. I mean, 2 for 6 is fine, but 4 for 6 or 6 for 6 or 5 for 6 would be more fun. So
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go out there. We'll make as many lifts as possible and gather up as many medals as possible because we
yeah, for
have
sure.
the Howard Cohen medals, and then I believe there should be another set of medals for the America's Cup.
Yeah, I
So
think so.
I don't. Does this federation? Have you noticed in the past? I don't know if you've looked into this. Do they give a snatch and clean jerk medal, or is this more, of the style of you're going to get just a total medal? I don't even
I
know.
have no idea. I don't know.
Interesting.
I could probably look it up and see how
Well, hey,
they
we're
give
looking
the
for
awards.
2 to 6 medals then. 2 to 6 medals is what we're looking for. If it's
Yeah,
if it's 6, we're going for all 6. If it's
yeah,
only two total medals, we're looking for 2.
yeah. Let's see here.
Mark
I've
them.
got their stuff. So they've got no qualifying total prices, hotel. Yeah, I'll dig through the entry form and find out, see if they list anything on it, but
Yeah.
I'll let you
Hey,
know.
either way, we're taking them all. So
Hmm.
no matter what happens,
Yeah, yeah, they gotta
I'm
be
on my
six
way out. I'm
golds
just
would be
scooping
nice.
up medals from the table. Just put them in my bag.
Yeah.
When at the John North and Donnie Schenkel seminar, was there any Donnie had a lot of great speeches. John had a lot of great speeches too. Was there anything said that you were like, well, I needed to hear that again, because maybe you've heard it all before. Um, there were definitely a couple moments where I was like, yeah, I needed to hear that again. Sometimes you just don't hear it, especially in the mainstream. People aren't talking about being a champion like they are. People aren't talking about the grit and training like they are. And as I was sitting there listening to what they were saying, I was like, yeah, I feel like I needed to hear that again. Like, this is what I used to live in my own training. But now I've been so far removed from my own training. I needed to hear this again to kind of help me as part of my process to get back into it. So, is there anything that
Yeah.
you heard that was either something new or resonated with you, or you're like, you know what, I needed that kick in the butt again?
Yeah, I think, um, I've been around, I've met John a few times and listened to his podcast here and there, and have taken a seminar with him before and stuff. So I kind of, I get where John's kind of coming from, and he always adds a little bit new, as he goes, and sprinkles some stuff in there. But for me, this is my first time meeting Donnie, and you hear the stories about kind of how he carries himself, and um, you see the old videos from Cal Strength and everything about just kind of his personality, but you don't really get it until you meet him. And
Yeah.
he's just an intense guy. Like you can just feel it. And he's not even, they didn't lift or anything with us. They were just there to coach and help us out. And like you can just pick up that vibe off of him. And then when he was talking about like just having that like linear singular focus on one thing, and I don't want to get into all the details and give it away. Like, take a seminar with those guys for sure, and you'll get all the intricate stuff of what he was saying. But basically, the gist of it was like, to succeed in the sport, um, every lift and every session, you have to have those blinders on, and right now the weight on the bar that's in front of you at this moment is, you're trying to kill this barbell. You basically was what he was getting at, and it's that was a good thing to hear for me. I mean, I wear so many hats throughout the day. I'm pulled in 9 different directions, and I'm one of the owners of the gym. So when I go in to train, like the owner's hat never really comes off, the coach's hat never really comes off. So it's hard sometimes to get through a session and keep your focus on just what you're doing here. Especially with how busy our gym's been. There's people everywhere all the time, which is a great thing. But it's not always the most conducive for a really focused training session. Um, so that little reminder of like, when it's time to lift and you're stepping up to that bar, like we can't be worried about, ooh, like what's going on in the other room, or somebody wants this or that. Like, it's
Yeah.
singular linear focus on one goal, and that's to lift this weight.
You can't be checking Instagram. You can't be, reading the news
No.
or checking your emails or answering emails. It's I thought that was one of the not one of the biggest, but it was up there one of the biggest messages of the whole day on that singular focus because Donnie wanted to go to
Hmm.
the Olympics. So
Hmm.
you're not going to the Olympics unless you treat your whole lifestyle like you want to go to the Olympics. And no doubt everything Donnie was doing was training. Everything is training, eating, sleeping, having a bedtime, not letting social life get in the way. I love that story he told about how every time he would get a new girlfriend, Glenn would want to talk to her and say, "Hey, uh, don't get in the way." It's pretty much. Imagine
Hmm.
that your coach you have a new girlfriend, and you're like, "Oh, James, I'm so happy I have this new girlfriend." I'm like, "All right, give me her number. I need to talk to her real quick." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm Frank's weightlifting coach. Don't get in the way. He's
Yeah.
going to he's going to the Olympics with you or without you. So you can either come along on this journey or we'll just end this right now." Like imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine I could totally see Glenn doing that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He would totally
That's
call someone
yeah,
and
that'd
just
be
say,
an intense
"Don't get in the
conversation to
way."
have with her afterwards. But yeah, it's no, it was, and on a smaller scale, like obviously not everyone has the aspirations of going to the Olympics, or, you know, whatever, but whatever and he put it perfectly, was like whatever your goal is, like you have to have a focus on that goal and make it a priority. You can't be getting ready to take a lift in practice and you're jerking around with your buddies in the corner, or you're sending texts to your girlfriend, or you're, talking to so and so over here, or thinking about this or that. It's this is your job.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's you have to decide what your own personal Olympics is going to be, and then that could be weight loss, it could be running a marathon, it could be just having the energy to play with your kids, but you can't sacrifice it. You have. It's a really hard thing for people to do. It's a hard and easy thing to do. It's it's hard to be selfish sometimes, but what you have to understand is that it's also really easy to not be selfish and let your goals slide down the way because
Mm,
you're banking on the excuse of, well, I did it for all these other people. And
mhm,
you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh yeah, all right, I didn't get the train today, but you know what? I helped Frank and I did this and I tidied up the gym and I made sure, the programming was set for Sona and like you do all these things. But it's like, all right, cool. So keep telling yourself that. And then when you're not happy, and which means if you're not happy, you're probably not performing well in all those other aspects of your life. It's going to seep in eventually. Then what you only have yourself to blame. And
yep,
the people that would, if you were like, if you put up boundaries and you're like, hey James, no, I got to get my training in today. Like I need to do this. This is my time. All right, let me follow up with you later in the day. Cool, no problem, right? Then what those people should want you to do that as well. They should want you to prioritize yourself and your own personal goals and not just be a slave to everyone else, in that regard. So
right,
there's a lot of ways to look at it and it goes both ways. And a lot of people can get really, really good about just mastering the excuse aspect of it. Oh, well, this is why I don't accomplish my goals, Frank, because I'm always helping everyone else accomplish theirs. That's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. I've done it
yep.
before. You've probably done it before.
Oh, yeah,
As coaches, it's almost inevitable. You have to work really hard against it.
yep. Yeah, it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of time, and, I made a sort of a deal with myself, at the beginning of 2024 that I was really gonna limit, like, how many times I was gonna be training for a meet that I was also gonna be coaching at, and for the most part, I've kept to it. I had a meet or two really early in the year that I was already kind of in shape for, so I lifted. But since March or whatever, the team's done some meets here and there, and I haven't been lifting. It's just too much, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it is too much. And actually, now that you're saying that, it reminds me that when I did Christmas in Kilos in 2020, I told all of you guys I can't do this again. I need to just sign up for
Hmm.
my own meets. And then
Yeah,
years later at the state championships, I'm still competing in the same meet you guys are all competing in. But that's a
yeah.
special circumstance. So,
So
but
I'm training for this one in December, and I do have athletes going, but I'm also gonna have help there. So, I'm probably not gonna be their primary coach during their session. I might be there to kind of help out in the back room, but as far as the hard work of getting them through the session, that'll most likely be Tracy taking care of that for them.
yeah,
So, because I've got other stuff I've got to worry about. I can't be running all over the meet, trying to get everything done, when I've got to lift, so I've got to rest and hang tight. So,
yeah. Yeah, you have to take care of you, and that's good for the team. It's good for your community too. It's healthy. It's healthy for everybody. It's not healthy if you're the only one not getting to do this whole thing. Unless that's your choice. You're like, all right, I'm retired from weightlifting. I'm going to be playing pickleball. But then, all right, still, when Frank's pickleball meet comes up, that's Frank's time. You're not going to be
yep.
in between, matches and answering emails on like, hey, what's the membership cost? Or hey, can you send me my programming? Even though you asked that person, do they need programming 5 days before? And now they're getting back to you when you're in the middle of your thing. Well, no, you're waiting now. You're waiting now.
Hmm.
This is Frank's time. So, yeah, you have to fill your cup too, and sometimes, and I guess what was it? Is it fill your cup too or fill your cup first? I think it's fill your cup first, right?
I think it's fill your cup first. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really, really hard thing to do in our business. Really
Hmm.
hard.
Yeah, it's like when you're on an airplane and they're telling you when the if the masks come down to put yours on first and then help the person next to you,
Yep.
because you're no good to them if you're passed out. So kind of the same
Yep.
idea.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a lesson we all have to keep reminding ourselves of and continue to learn. And that's when Donnie said that, I was like, "God, I needed to hear that again,
yeah,
because I wasn't signed up for state championships yet. So like it would have been super easy and no one would have batted an eye if I just didn't do it or pulled out.
right.
Even up to the morning of like crap, all right, we don't have enough volunteers. I gotta withdraw and go sit in that chair and whatnot. I
Yep.
was no, I was like, no, no, no. I was ready to let that session not start until an ass got in that chair that isn't mine. Like,
Mhm.
hey, guess we ain't starting. I don't know what to tell you. Like, so someone needs to go sit in that chair and watch my lips, or this isn't happening, So like, I was like, I got myself to the point where I was like prepared to do that, and I was like, it's not unreasonable for me to do that. I am not getting paid to do all of this, and in
Right.
fact, I paid to do this now. So I set all you guys up to be ready. Someone can go sit in that chair, and we got it figured out. But I think, in the past, it might have been too easy to be like, all right, crap, got to get this event going. Never mind
Yeah,
about
no,
me.
it was a good decision. It was good advice, and I'm glad we're, taking these kinds of things and able to put them into use in our everyday life. So,
Yeah.
overall, I think it was a great seminar. Definitely would do it again. And if you're thinking about taking one, I know they're starting to pop up here and there around the country. I definitely would recommend it. So,
Yeah. Yep. Definitely go. It's always a fun time. It's good, different perspective and a different type of seminar. You go to the USAW level one and level two, it's going to be a lot of like, it's almost like the textbook in
yeah.
action and on screen. This is different. This is from people who have lived the lifestyle, and you're learning a lot of different things. They're not going to talk about a lot of these things at those types of seminars, which doesn't mean
Right.
those are bad seminars, just different flavor, and but both things you need to know as a coach and an athlete. So
Yep.
yeah, I like the advice of, or not the advice, but when Donnie's like, I'm always just pissed off. Like, he's just
Yeah.
always angry, and he's just so mad, when he's going to go try to lift that bar, because like this bar is trying to kill me. It's trying to fall down on my neck, and it has, and he's just
Hmm.
so mad and putting that into it. It's just a good thing to remember. It's like you have to bring something out of yourself to do some of these
Yep.
lifts.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have a little bit of time left before you got to go. A
Yep.
bunch of episodes back, Miguel and I went through our top 5 athletic performances, and you made a comment on like, you want to play this game, So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know
Well,
if this
it
is hitting
started
you on the
because there was
CrossFit app.
some we I heard that I have a passion for the sport of golf, and it was slandered.
Oh,
And I had sent you a text that it was not fair.
that was
And
Miguel, right? Miguel said that,
oh yeah, hmm,
or was it me?
yeah,
It was me.
it
It's
was
probably me.
definitely you. Yeah, you're like, I don't like golf, it's boring. And I was like, oh man. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think, yeah, I'm probably the culprit. I'm definitely probably the culprit. And I think I've said a couple controversial things, such as also the pizza debacle on New York City pizza versus um, other pizza
Yeah,
places. So
yeah, but the pizza one I was less offended by. The golf that struck a personal chord with me. It was because I love golf. I find it relaxing. It's fun, and it's a good way to kind of get outside and get a little time in nature without having to travel super far. And you get out
yeah,
we've got down where I am. We have a ton of great golf courses and very different golf courses too. You can play 2 or 3 courses in the same weekend and get entirely different styles and scenery and stuff like that. We've got some that are pretty flat and they look like what you see on TV, and then we've got
yeah.
others that are like in the hills and you're going up and down and the mountains and big lakes and things like that. So it's really cool.
Well, yeah. See, that's good. That's Frank's time. This
Hmm.
is helping Frank de-stress from all the gym stuff and,
Yep.
and all the business stuff. So
Yeah.
it's important. You should never have to skip that. Unless it's like a deep family emergency. That's the only thing that should take you away from that.
Yeah.
You know. So all right, I'm assuming there are a couple golf
I
performances
kept
in
it
your top five.
I kept it to like it's all right, I'll give you the golf one, and it's sort of a blend of 2 different moments, but the way
Mhm.
it comes full circle is really, really cool to me. So in 1997, Tiger Woods won his first Masters championship. He was like 21 years old. He was like the youngest one to ever win it. And he gets off the 18th green after he wins, and there's this like really iconic photo of him hugging his dad, Earl, and his dad was really sick, like shouldn't have even made the trip out to Augusta to go to the competition. His dad like went against doctor's advice to like be there and all this other stuff. And he had like a lot of heart issues and things like that. But he coached Tiger since he was a baby. He was like his only coach he ever had, like coming up, and you know, coached him all the way into the PGA Tour. And so him and his dad were really, really tight. And so they have this like really cool photo of him hugging his dad and just crying, because he set all sorts of like he won by like 12 strokes, like just blew everybody out, and just like dominated it, and won his first Masters tournament. So fast forward to like 2019. This was after Tiger's dad had died, and Tiger had been on kind of like a 10-year drought. Like he hadn't won a Masters in like 10 years, and he had gone through all this like personal issues with, his ex-wife, and getting accused of using performance enhancing drugs, and abusing prescription medicine and all this other stuff. And he had kind of like fell from grace a bit. And yeah, it was 2019. He goes back to Augusta and he wins again. And now his son is like 10 or 11 at the time, and they've got a really cool picture of him and his kids hugging it out on the 18th green after. It was like a really cool, like, full circle moment
Full circle.
of, yeah, of him going back, winning again, and getting to celebrate now with his kids after his dad had passed, and stuff. So really, really, really cool. If you're a golf fan, like, think what you want about Tiger, but like, winning 2 Masters is huge. Tiger's won more than 2. He won a few in that span, but um, you know, winning 2 Masters is huge. But to like have the story behind it and being the youngest one to win it, and then go back in your 40s and win it, and have your kids there to witness it and all that stuff, that's really, really cool. So
Yeah, that's huge, and definitely, as a father yourself now, you
yeah.
can probably put yourself in both of their shoes to some extent, but especially like his father's shoes. It's like there are some things that you wouldn't miss for the world. You should be there regardless of
Hmm.
what happens, and you'll do anything to get there. And like he had doctors telling him, don't go, and of course they're gonna say that. But it's like,
Yeah.
come on now, like do you want to watch that moment from your house on your couch in a bed all hooked up to things, or you want to be there? Like
Yeah.
if like that's like one of the things that I think about. Like if I was like in his father's shoes, it's like, well, if I go out there and that's like my last moment, fine. Like that's a
Hmm.
great last moment.
Yeah, and I mean,
Um,
you spent so many decades, 2 decades teaching your son everything he knows about the sport, and then to watch him go out and not just win, but dominate these professional golfers who, there was a lot of like negative talk about Tiger and, oh, this kid, he's going to get taught what the PGA Tour is about and blah, 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 and whatever. And then he goes out and he demolishes these guys in the most prestigious tournament of the year with, thousands of people in attendance and millions at home watching. And, it's impressive. And,
yeah.
for his dad to be there for that, like, that's like the cherry on top of all the hard work that they put in together.
Oh yeah. And like you said, people might think a certain way about Tiger Woods, but any of those people that think a certain bad way about Tiger Woods, you have no idea what it's like to be Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Like one, like to be that good at something, probably. You have no
Mhm.
idea what it's like to have an abundance of beautiful women or beautiful men, if you're a woman, throwing themselves at you. Like you have no idea what it's like. And
Yeah.
everyone would like to stand up on their perch and be like, I wouldn't have done. Sure, sure. Like I'm sure you
Yeah, it's
wouldn't have. Like it's easier said than done until you're in the situation,
yeah,
experiencing what
but
he's
but it goes
experiencing.
back to show, that what Donnie was saying, what we were just talking about, like, when his focus was golf, he was untouchable. You could break Tiger's career down into 2 separate sections. You take the first half and the second half of his career, and either one of those versions of Tiger has enough statistics and accolades and major wins and all this other stuff to be a Hall of Fame career on its own, and he's done it together, you know. But he had that dip in the middle, and I think, he lost his focus, and he had a wife and kids and all this other stuff going on outside of there, and he had lost his dad, and his focus wasn't on golf. When he was starting out, it was golf, 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 and then some things happened, and then when he tried to come back and found some success, you could tell where his focus was. So
And most people, I mean, like a lot of people, like it takes a very, outlier, special person to do it the first time he did it. But to
Mhm.
come back, even the people that have like a storied career in the beginning or they're a phenom, if they have a big dip like that, the chances of coming back again are very, very low. I don't know if there are many examples of it. You know,
Well, actually, that brings me to another one of my best
oh, there we go.
performances, right? So
Expert
Jay Cutler,
segue. Look at that.
yeah, Jay Cutler, 2009, coming back after losing the Olympia the year before, and coming back in probably the best shape he was ever in. And that's when you get that iconic quad stomp photo and all that stuff. And he, with the line of him giving Dexter back the medal and saying like, "Here's that silver medal I borrowed from you last year. You can have it back." And
That's
like it
awesome.
was, yeah, it was like
Did he
some
really do
people would
that?
say, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." That he just borrowed it for a year, and he wanted his gold medal back. So. Um,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Hold on, we gotta vote. Like, so he got so second place in the year
Oh wait.
before,
Yeah.
and then he brings the silver medal with him
Oh,
in
I don't
20.
know if he physically handed him the medal, but he
Oh,
said he made the statement of like, yeah, you can have that
okay, all
silver
right.
medal back that I borrowed last year.
I'd be like, that's
So
another level if he brought it with him and he actually hands it
yeah,
to him. It's like I don't need
yeah.
that anymore.
No, it was in a really and people again like controversy about like whether you consider bodybuilding a sport. I absolutely do.
It
Yeah,
is, yes.
these guys juiced to a gill, sure, but they're putting in arguably harder work than anybody, like they're just in the gym training
Yeah.
every muscle group, every individual muscle that they can to achieve such a result, and then the dieting and nutrition and just how strict and disciplined you have to be is just insane.
And the
So
actual performance on the stage, like they like it's not everyone can just do those poses and manipulate their muscles like that. Like that's a whole thing.
yeah,
And with
yeah, I
the
couldn't I
drug
couldn't
thing,
stand on the stage and flex as long
yeah,
as they have to, and
all of
so
it.
it's yeah, it
And then
takes a
when you go to the
lot. So
drugs, it's like, okay, if that's your argument, well, what about all the NFL players that are on stuff? What about all these people in this sport or that sport? Like
mhm.
I think for the Tour de France when oh shoot, I'm blanking on his name. Who's the best ever?
Was it Lance
Lance.
Armstrong?
Lance Armstrong. But when they stripped him of his titles and they had to go down to like 18th place. All right, well,
Mhm.
is this not a sport anymore because so many of them are on performance dancing? Like, I don't know. I this is probably a debate for a whole other thing. We gotta get Miguel in here for this debate
Yeah,
too.
well, and the other thing is that they allow it. They're not testing for it. It's accepted. Like it's,
Yeah,
essentially it's a must do. You can't compete with those guys in that category unless you're on some sort of regimen with supplements. So you have to. So
yeah.
if you were to tell me that any one of those guys was natural, I wouldn't believe it. They're monsters, but you don't just take steroids and get bigger. Like you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm
yeah.
liking your list so far. It seems like it's a lot of full circle moments on like there's like
Yeah.
a storyline, a thread through it.
Yeah, I've got another one here. Here you go. 2001 World Series, Yankees Mets. It took place about a little over a month after the World Trade Center tragedy happened, and to have both New York teams in the World Series in New York City, it was, and then I think President Bush came out and threw the first pitch at the in Game One, and like it was just like a huge like America, but also kind of like a really big New York moment. So as like
Yeah.
a New York guy, like that was, awesome. So that's one
Did
of my favorites. I wasn't. It didn't matter so much who won. I am a Yankees fan, and they did win, but it was, and they're back in the World Series this year. So
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that
mhm.
when 9/11 happened that the Yankees won the World Series that year and both teams were in the World Series. Was it established before 9/11 that they were both going or was it
No,
did that happen afterwards?
yeah, yeah. You don't kind of find out the playoffs don't sort of settle down until October. So it was a few
Wow,
weeks
okay.
later. It was a few weeks later that everything kind of shook out, and just so happened that both New York teams kind of came through. So
I wonder how much, the tragedy like weighed on them and like pushed their perform like we're we're gonna play
Yeah,
this baseball game hard.
definitely gave him a lot to play for sure. So
That's amazing. Wow.
another New York sports moment was the Giants in the '07 Super Bowl. I'm also a big Giants fan, and upsetting the 18-0 New England Patriots with the greatest quarterback of all time, and you know, and this amazing team they had, and us as a wild card team coming in and pulling off this upset victory with a late uh, game winning drive and amazing defense and all that stuff. That I think I was in college at the time, and yeah, I think I we had pretty wild celebration for that one because I had a pretty big group of friends that were all Giants fans. But yeah, that was I'm trying to pick my list of stuff that I've like experienced and been around for and like can visibly
Yeah.
remember. Like there's a ton of other stuff that was probably way uh more impactful on sports in general, but before my time. So I'm just trying to stick
Yeah.
with what I've been
No,
there
I
for.
like I like
So
the list. So we have Tiger Woods, we have Jay Cutler, we have the Yankees and Mets post 9/11, and now we have the New York Giants in 2007. You said
yeah, it was the
Defe-
'06-'07 season. Yeah, they
defeating the
were
Patriots.
underdogs and came through and
Is that
beat
Eli?
ended. It was Eli. Yeah, yeah. So
Eli Manning.
and 18-1 instead of 19-0 for the Patriots. So it was a
Ah,
good one. So
that's gotta
and that
sting
was
a little
the
bit.
first of two victories over New England in the Super Bowl that he had. And then my last one. This is going to be the controversy. You may not agree with me, but hear me
Oh,
out.
all right.
2015. Do you watch horse racing?
No.
All right. So I had a stretch where I was like really into uh like the Triple Crown. And there was two recently um but the one in 2015 it was American Pharaoh, and was the first Triple Crown winner in a really long time. Um but he was also the only, so there's been 13 Triple Crown horses ever in like 150 years or
And
whatever they've
what
been
does
doing this.
Triple Crown mean? That's three
So you got to
meets or
win. You got
three?
to win the three. You have to win the three races, the big races. The Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes. So you have to win all three, and they all happen all within a couple of weeks of each other.
Okay.
So um, so basically go out and like it's really rare because the tracks are different surfaces and the weather conditions can affect it, and injuries happen with the horses and just all sorts of different stuff. So it's really rare to get a horse that can win on all three of those tracks in that period of time. But American Pharoah did it, and he also won the Breeders' Cup, which is another race. So it's sort of like their Grand Slam if you can
Mhm.
put those four together, and he's the only horse ever to do it
Wow.
in over a century of them
Those are gonna be some
doing this.
expensive babies when you breed that
Yeah,
horse.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's impressive to be, in almost 2 centuries worth of a sport, and only one time has it been done, and it happened during our lifetime. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
So
I think that's super cool. We don't have
yeah,
any animal sports on the
yeah.
list
So
so far,
yeah,
so
there you
that's the
go.
first one. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've actually, I don't think outside of like seeing it depicted in movies, I
Hmm.
don't think I've ever seen like a horse race. And we have the
Yeah.
up there in Saratoga, the
Yep.
racetrack. Never
Hmm.
been to one of those before. Um, I don't know what that would do to me if I would all of a sudden become obsessed and start betting. It's like I don't know what kind of personality I have in that type of arena.
We'll have to get you a big floppy hat for the Derby. All right.
There we go. Yeah, so I don't get sunburned. Rock a big floppy hat. Awesome. No, I think those are awesome. All right, so we got Tiger Woods,
Hmm.
we got Jay Cutler, we got the Yankees, we got the Giants, and then we got the horse race. So I
Yep.
think that's a solid five right there. Athletic performances,
Thank you.
and that's
I
yeah. I
agree.
think yeah, it's like it's the athletic performance of the horse, but the jockeys have to do a lot of work too. I don't even know what goes
Oh yeah.
into it. They have to lean, they have to hit the whip, which some
Yep.
people may not like. But there's things they got to do.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some coaching along the way and instruction giving to the horse about, kind of when to go for it and stuff. But the horse does the bulk of the work.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but the jockeys don't
What?
have it easy.
Oh no, and they're typically smaller people, I remember I've only ridden a horse once, I think, in my life where I had the reins and I was following a line of horses.
Mhm.
And you just when you're on an animal like that, you're like, oh man, if he really didn't want to, I have no say in this at all. Like I'm
Yeah.
so grateful he's listening. If I lightly kick his sides, he'll do this. If I tilt that way, he'll do that. But there were a handful of times where I just lost control of him and I didn't know how to get it back. And he's just going on the path that he thinks he should be on. So we're not communicating well. I'm not
Yeah.
directing him well at all. This is totally my fault because he's
Yep.
in the habit of listening. But you just
Mhm.
feel the power of the animal too. That's always an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they're
you go
they're
to like
incredible.
you go to a petting zoo and like you go to pet like a cow and it turns its head and you're like, whoa, like you're really strong, aren't you? Like you used to like and like your head is the size of my chest. Like if
Mhm.
even though you eat grass, if you wanted to be a problem, you probably would be a problem for me, right? Like
Oh,
I could
yeah.
run away from you, but
Yeah.
like a cow throwing its weight around, like you see that all the time. They kick people, they hurt people.
Yep. Well, imagine
You have to
being
have
on top of one doing 40 miles an hour in a crowd around a yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I can't
yeah.
imagine that because we were just going
Thunders.
at a light trot in a
Mhm.
line up and down through trails, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was, I mean, how many miles an hour? Like a walking pace versus 40
Yeah.
miles an hour
Yep.
is pretty wild, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I've been in a couple situations like that where you kind of realize you have no control and you just have to go with the situation. And I think that those situations are good for weightlifters on just like going with the flow of the bar,
Yeah.
being on a horse, sliding in a bobsled, especially not being the one driving it, being the brake man, where you're like, I
Mhm.
sure hope he doesn't flip us. You know, just kind of trust. You have to trust your safety in like a horse or another person. Uh, yeah, those would be my two main ones. The only other example would be like a roller coaster. You know,
Mhm.
but I feel like that's like the least risky of the three that I just mentioned because
Yeah.
more than likely it's just going to keep going down the track. It just feels like you have no control.
Yeah. Right.
Have you ridden a horse?
Yes, when I was much younger. It's been a long time, but
That'd be something fun to take Maribel and Franny to. Put them on a horse
yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get into it. They're a little small for that now, but
Yeah. Yeah, you'd probably have to ride and then have them in front of you or something. I think I saw they have like
yeah.
dual saddles and
Yeah,
stuff.
something along those lines, or just wait till they're a little bit bigger where they can go on kind of a small one by themselves, you know?
Yeah, get them on a
So,
pony.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Well, Frank, I know you got to go soon here.
yeah, I
Uh,
gotta go pick those girls up actually, so
oh yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. Your birthday's tomorrow, the
yes, sir.
24th. So happy pre-birthday, and then
Thank
we'll
you.
get a lifting session in tomorrow at 7 a.m. for your actual birthday.
Yeah.
And one more piece of news that came in today: Renee, Albany Cross the Barbell Club team member, passed the bar exam, New York State
Oh,
bar exam.
congrats, Renee.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
she took the probably about close to 6 months ago. It was like June or July,
Yeah, they
not six
take a
months
while
ago,
to
but
come out, yeah.
yeah, it takes a while. But like she's super relieved because that's a long time to wait on like such a big
Yep,
exam, and then if you don't pass it, now you have to wait another long period of time to
yep,
take it
yeah, yeah.
again,
Your
then
whole
wait
career is
several
kinda
months.
hinging on it, yeah.
Yeah, so
So,
super proud of
good
her,
for her.
super happy that she did that. You know, Albany Cross Barbell Club, we're making lifts on and off the platform. Is what we do. So
Awesome.
making lifts on a horse. I mean, it doesn't matter where we are. Slam that saddle. Awesome. All right, Frank. Well, where can people follow you? Where can they follow your team, the gym? What's all the stuff?
I'll keep it simple. Easiest way to reach me is at Sona Weightlifting on Instagram. You can catch me there, and I run the account. So if you need me for anything, if you want to check out the team, that's where you got to go.
Cool. Sona Weightlifting at gmail.com. And then all the Sona Weightlifting and Sona CrossFit and Sona Gym stuff on Instagrams and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yep.
Follow me, James A. McDermott. Follow Albany Cross the Barbell Club, Albany CrossFit, podcast. You know by now if you're listening. All right, Frank, thanks for coming on. Everybody, thank you for listening.
All right. Thanks for having me. See you tomorrow.